And
when would you like to defend this new world title again?
Woo! Donald Trump, let's go open the White House. I'm coming.
See, now, I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I want to see Ilia Topuria versus Islam now. I want to see it even more now. Dude, Ilia versus Islam White House. Make it happen, Dana. Make it happen.
I think when we think about the White House, it's almost like, oh, does it have to be America versus the world themed and stuff like that? For you, would you be happy putting a non-American main event on that card?
Yeah, it's not America versus the world. It's what's the best card we can build.
So could Islam end up on the White House?
We're talking about him possibly, GOAT talk here, depending on what he does in his next couple of fights. So it's a possibility.
Now that the fight is done, let's rewind and look at what UFC experts were saying before Jack Della Maddalena stepped in against Islam Makhachev. The buildup was full of bold predictions, split opinions, and a whole lot of uncertainty. Some believed Jack's sharp boxing could stun the champ, while others were convinced Islam's pressure and control would shut everything down. Starting with Alexander Volkanovski, he said the weight move would not bother Islam as much as people thought, and he expected Islam to handle the size difference with no real trouble. At the same time, he felt Jack's pressure and power could still create moments that mattered. He made it sound like Islam had the edge going in, but he left space for Jack to change the story if he kept the fight standing long enough.
Well, I think it is the fact that because a lot of people, I know you're moving up a division, but you'll be surprised at how well people can deal with that. Like in the training room, they're training with, I guarantee you, Islam's training with middleweights, welterweights all the time. So I don't think it's going to be a massive difference for him. It's not like it's something that he cannot handle. I guarantee he can handle it. But in saying that, obviously it is a class above. So someone with the right technique and that little bit stronger may be enough. You know what I mean? So it can play a big factor, but at the same time, not as big as what people think.
He also believed the scrambles would decide a lot of the fight. He said Islam usually won those moments and that Jack had to be faster and sharper than usual. The way he spoke made it feel like he leaned slightly toward Islam because of that experience, but he did not close the door on Jack.
You know what I mean? So it can play a big factor, but at the same time, not as big as what people think.
Okay. Now, you've shared the cage with Makhachev twice before. Looking back, is there anything you wish you did differently that you think Jack should do for his upcoming fight against Islam?
Yeah, take the fight on short notice. That'll be the best thing. No, I'm joking. Honestly, it's just we know what Islam's going to want to do. We know what JDM's good at, keeping it on the feet and using that boxing. You know, he's got very, very powerful hands. And just gotta.
When Kamaru Usman was asked to pick his winner for the fight, he didn't commit either way. He said both men have tools that could trouble the other, Jack's sharp striking versus Islam's relentless grappling. But he leaned slightly toward Islam, explaining that experience in deep waters often becomes the deciding factor. Still, he emphasized that it's a close fight and anything can happen once they start trading.
Man, it's a tough one. Who do I think wins? I think both guys present a lot of things that could give each other problems. Now we got to remember that they're both going in against each other, both southpaws. Jack now has shown a tendency to be able to switch effortlessly and make it look very fluid to where you don't see it. And so that's something that he potentially could have in his back pocket. But they both fight very well in the southpaw position. Now, like we mentioned, he's bigger. He's gonna hit a little bit harder because he's used to carrying that just extra weight on him when he throws his punches. But where he has shown a little bit of a weakness is being taken down in the wrestling aspect. and kind of controlled. And so that's also primarily an area where Islam has shined. And so that's what's going to make this ultra intriguing here. But
Dustin Poirier looked at the matchup and leaned toward the steady pick. He felt Islam had shown the kind of discipline that usually carried him through long fights, so he expected him to stay calm and win round by round. He did not make it sound certain. He just trusted the pattern he had seen over the years and the way Islam handled pressure before.
Man, this is a tough one, dude. I would think Islam by decision, but if Jack does win, I'm not going to be totally blown away if he lands a shot that hurts Islam or a knee or something.
He still kept the door open for chaos. He pointed out that Jack had real danger in the way he threw his shots and his knees, and that one clean moment could turn everything upside down. He didn't spell out exactly how that moment might look. He just left room for that surprise that heavy hitters bring. Even with that possibility, he circled back to Islam as his pick on the scorecards, explaining it like he was working through the matchup in his head while still respecting Jack's ability to shake up the entire night.
Obviously, if he beats Islam by decision or submits Islam, then I'm going to be blown away. But I got to go with Islam by decision. That's if I was betting on it, that's what I would bet on.
Yeah, that does feel like the right call. But yeah, just seeing all this support for Jack, that's very interesting. A lot of fighters coming out. And what
he has everything it takes to pull off this upset. He could do it. But like I said, if I had to make a final decision, I would go Islam.
MMA Guru looked at the fight and focused on the danger on both sides. He said Jack had been impressive for years, building a long win streak from the regional scene to the UFC, and he trusted Jack's ability to finish fights. At the same time, he said Islam's moving up to welterweight added a big unknown. He thought the fight could go completely one-sided either way, depending on who got their rhythm first and where the action took place.
I think Makhachev, there's a narrative that Makhachev's ducking Ilia Topuria. But if Makhachev was not fighting Ilia Topuria because he wanted to defend his title against Max Holloway for a BMF belt, maybe I'd say, okay, he's ducking Ilia. He wants an easier matchup against a striker, maybe. But when Makhachev's ducking Ilia Topuria to take on Jack Della Maddalena at welterweight, upper weight class, you ain't ducking. And if you are, that's not a clever duck right there. That's a real dumb duckling. Because Makhachev's moving up to face a dangerous kind of Ilia Topuria, but bigger. Maybe not as dynamic as Ilia is or the star that Ilia is, but if you're talking really tidy boxing and really good takedown defense and sprawls, you're talking JDM and Ilia Topuria in the sport. So
he leaned toward Jack winning, mostly because Islam was new to the division and might feel the pressure against a bigger, stronger opponent, but he kept it open, saying if Islam controlled the grappling, he could finish it early while Jack could punish him along the cage if he resisted.
This is a new test. My take on this fight is that this will be one-sided in either direction. That's my take. I don't think it can be boring. I know it could be, where maybe Makhachev does stall it out, but I think if Makhachev does have an advantage in the grappling, lighter man's skill is something that comes up a lot in MMA, and I think he will be able to use that into a finish. You know, you said about his survivability against Burns, which was crazy because he broke his arm in that fight and still survived some really bad positions. I just think if Makhachev has an advantage, he will press it to a finish in the grappling early. But if JDM can shuck those off, he will press to a finish up against the cage because he's used to this weight class, and Makhachev's new to 170. And one thing you don't want to do if you're moving up to a weight class above you is immediately feel that pressure of being backed up in a time before in a division where you could maybe manipulate and have the physical presence over people at lightweight. So I'm leaning towards JDM, but this is a generational fight, and I'm really looking forward to it because fights like this don't come around often. Makhachev.
Bryce Mitchell didn't overanalyze it or talk about betting odds. Rather, he spoke from the gut. He said he's picking JDM. No fancy explanation, just respect for Jack's style. Bryce called it a tough fight. In fact, one of the hardest Jack will ever have, but still leaned towards him because of how he fights. He liked that aggressive, confident approach Jack brings, the kind that makes him dangerous every second he's standing.
Okay, I'm going to go with JDM on that one. And the reason being is because I just love that style. Islam is going to be the hardest fight he's ever had in his life. That's not an understatement. That is an understatement. I don't know. you know.
Israel Adesanya predicted that Jack could control the pace, punish Islam on the feet, and possibly finish the fight around the second or third round. Israel acknowledged Islam's strengths and grappling pedigree, but he felt Jack's takedown defense and striking would be enough to stifle Islam and make the fight exciting and unpredictable.
Yeah, whoop, that's a classic. And then jumps on his back, boom, yeah. And he's got that squeeze though. Look at the squeeze. Look at, like, when he squeezes, look at his back. Just mountains. Yeah, different. Yeah, in this fight, not just because it's Anzac United, I really think that Jack Della Maddalena has the skills to stifle Islam's game and be able to just put it on the feet and knock him out. Might be second round, might be third, but we'll see. Tune in and find out. And also,
Dan Hardy saw Jack Della Maddalena as a fighter with a bright future in the division. He thought Jack was not unbeatable, but he kept improving with every fight. Hardy noticed how sharp Jack looked in his last performance, especially after recovering from the tough bout with Gilbert Burns.
A bright future. I don't know whether he's going to hold the belt or, you know, he's going to lose it to another one of the top contenders and then pick it back up again. I don't think he's going to lose it to Makhachev, though. I think Makhachev holds the lightweight belt against anybody in the world, you know, on any day, you know, including Ilia Topuria. I don't think if he moved up, he would have much success against Makhachev. But Della Maddalena looked very, very sharp against Bilal. And I wonder what Makhachev would look like as a welterweight, you know, whether he would look as strong and as lean or whether he would look heavier and, you know, potentially gas himself out because he'd be stepping straight into a 5-round fight, wouldn't he?
Why do you feel that he beats Islam?
I just wonder what Makhachev would look like as a welterweight. You know, it is a big step up from one weight class to another. And
when it came to Islam moving up in weight, Hardy had some doubts. He wondered how Islam's body would adjust to the extra pounds, and if the conditioning that made him so dominant at lightweight might work against him at welterweight. Hardy explained that Islam's precision and control came from the strict training needed to make 155 pounds. Without that weight cut, he might lose a bit of that edge. Meanwhile, Jack was already adapting to the welterweight class, improving fight by fight and showing a strong balance of power and composure.
You know, just sometimes the discipline that he would have to get him down to 155 and the extra conditioning he would do is partly what makes him so formidable. And I wonder if moving up to welterweight and giving himself that extra 15 pounds to kind of, you know, just be, he's going to gain some muscle mass or even some additional weight that he may not necessarily need and might actually impede him in a 5-round fight, especially because, you know, like you said, you know, Della Maddalena, you know, he showed some weaknesses in the Gilbert Burns fight. He showed some big improvements in the Bilal fight. You've got to think that trajectory is going to continue on and he's going to be better again the next time around. And obviously now with the confidence that he's the champion.
Javier Mendez said that many people misunderstood Islam as only a grappler. He explained that Islam's striking was not traditional or easy to predict, and anyone who thought they could take him lightly on the feet would be surprised. Mendez had watched Islam for over 10 years and noted that even fighters who were technically better strikers often had trouble against him. He made it simple but clear that Islam's stand-up was another weapon in his toolbox, and it could catch opponents off guard. Mendez did not go into specific tactics or reveal the full game plan, but the warning was obvious. Underestimating Islam's striking could be a serious mistake. Respecting his full skill set mattered more than assuming he was just a wrestler.
And Bilal's, because Islam has more of a traditional style for his stand-up. Do you feel like people are kind of missing some of the X factors that Islam brings with his striking?
If he's saying that, I hope that he goes in believing that, because when he gets in there with Islam, you're going to find out a whole different story because I'm sorry, they're completely different. And by no means is Islam an easy for anybody on the stand-up. Any MMA fighter that's a striker, that's not going to have an easy time with him. I've been with this kid like going on 11 years of watching him just destroy everybody on the stand-up, guys that are much better stand-up than him, and he still destroys them. So, no. don't go by what you see. When you get in there with that man,
Michael Chandler admitted this matchup could go either way, but he leaned slightly towards JDM because of his power and precise striking, but made it clear that it wouldn't be surprising if Islam takes control once the grappling begins. He described the fight as one of those matchups where you just know something unexpected is coming, and that unpredictability is exactly what makes it so thrilling for fans.
So I think it'll be interesting, man. I think Islam's going to get tagged up a couple times, and we're going to see if he goes to that wrestling pretty quick. But I think JDM's a monster, man. I think I give JDM the slight favor or the slight nod in that one. But I would not be surprised if Islam is holding the belt, and then now you got a whole nother conundrum where you got Ilia and him wanting the super fight and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens, man. Crazy sport.
Belal Muhammad shared his own breakdown and kept it honest. He said if the fight hit the mat early, it could get tough for Jack. Islam's control on the ground was next level, and the quick scrambles Jack usually relied on might not work the same way against someone so dominant.
Breaking down this fight stylistically, obviously trained with Islam, fought Jack. It's going to come down to if it hits the ground. If it hits the ground for Islam, I think his top game is going to be really good. He's very smart, very controlled, doesn't let you off the hook when you make a mistake. Jack makes mistakes on the ground. He uses it to scramble. He has good scrambling ability. He has moments where he's like lapses safety, right? He'll give up his back, he'll give up his neck, he'll give up an arm triangle. And you can't do that with Islam. Islam's going to see that and he's going to exploit it. I think if Islam comes out wrestling right away and forcing that takedown right away, making that work, it's going to be a long night for Jack.
Still, Belal did not rule Jack out. He noticed how much sharper Jack's striking had become recently, and he said staying on the feet could be Jack's best chance. He respected both fighters, but made it clear that Islam could take over fast once he got control.
He's very smart. He's good on the feet. He has good hands. He doesn't give up on himself. He always pushes through. So Jack's not going to be like a quitter, but he has to take the center. He has to be in the middle. He has to force the action and try not to get his back to the fence, because we've seen in the Poirier fight, Islam really wants to get you to the fence. Poirier did a good job of keeping the center, and he defended a couple takedowns. But honestly, I just think that Islam's takedown offense is going to be more than Jack's takedown defense, and then when it goes to the ground, it's going to be a bad night. But
these were the predictions from the experts before the fight, each offering their own take on how it would all play out. But now that the dust has settled, what about you? Did your favorite fighter come out on top, or did things turn out differently than you expected? Share your thoughts and tell us who you had winning in the comments below.